You're with Julian on the Brown Note and a review of the film Wolves, which is a vehicle starring two massive heavyweight besties, George Clooney and Brad Pitt, which got damned with faint praise on release. It might be a Netflix only job, but I do disagree a bit. The director is quite interesting, John Watts, American dude. I haven't seen Clown, his first film, but I do remember it getting a lot of indie praise. But Cop Car, his indie film from 2015, I certainly do remember, which was very good. And then he went into mega budget films, Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home, neither of which I like. I can understand Far From Home's appeal, given its relentless fan service of bringing back every actor they could possibly bring back. And I thought it was okay, but Homecoming I thought was dire. Sorry, I'm wrong. I actually thought Homecoming and Far From Home were dire. No Way Home, which was the most recent one. Very imaginative titles. I thought that one was passable, but the two previous ones I thought were awful. And they're doing a fourth one. MCU has no ideas left at all. And after low budget Cop Car and $3 billion movies in a row, he does Wolves, which is very strange. The premise is one that ostensibly has occurred in multiple movies, but fits the two leads very well here. So George Clooney is a clean-up man. We've seen clean-up men from Mr. Wolf in Pulp Fiction millions of times in films, where they're the ones that come in when someone's done something terribly wrong. In fact, George Clooney kind of played that clean-up man role in Michael Clayton, a brilliant film, which I rewatched recently. Absolutely superb film. Although he was a lawyer clean-up man, not a hitman clean-up man. So George Clooney gets a call from a woman, a very high-powered executive woman. She has taken the presidential suite in a hotel, and she has met a young man in the lobby, and they have gone back to do the naughty, and he has died from an apparent drug overdose, leaving her in a very sticky situation. She's married and so on, and of course has a dead male prostitute, which is what everyone thinks, in the room. So Clooney goes up and starts dealing with the situation as best he can. And Brad Pitt appears, who is also a clean-up man, who has been put on the case by the owner of the hotel, who has been sneakily recording what's going on in these rooms and has sent her own person to deal with it. And the opening third of the film is the best of the film. It's really well written and acted. It only occurs basically in one room, or more or less. And very small environments, and just acting and just script, and the battle between George Clooney and Brad Pitt to assert dominance and try and work out what the hell is going on. In the end, the owner of the hotel forces them to work together to deal with this situation. Who's the lady at the start? I think it's Amy Ryan. Yeah, Amy Ryan, who's a great actor. She's the executive at the start. She doesn't play much of a role after that period. The rest of the film is them trying to deal with what they've got. The first thing that they encounter is that this boy, he isn't a prostitute, as the Margaret character keeps telling everyone he's not a prostitute. And everyone just, yeah, okay, sure, lady. He has got an enormous amount of drugs on him. So suddenly both of these clean-up hitmen think, oh dear, someone's going to come looking for this guy. How do we get this several kilos of coke back to the owner? And the second massive problem they have is that he's not dead. So the rest of the film is them trying to get through this scenario with as little blowback on themselves as possible, which includes returning said merchandise and going through a long journey through the night style film, where they encounter various people on the way. I hope I can remember. I think June, Porna Janganathan, she's very good in the middle. And there's gangsters along the way and so on and so forth. I thought the production values on this were very good. I thought one interesting thing is that when Netflix were pumping out these films that were analogous to this, like The Grey and so on, they were $200 million relentless action blockbusters. Whereas this time it's just a much more quiet, thoughtful film which doesn't rely on action at all. It does have action and it does have some action sequences, but compared to something like The Grey or Red Notice, where it was just bombastic action and $50 million scenes, it's the opposite. I thought Clooney and Pitt, they were sleepwalking really, but they are so good together on screen that they were excellent. And I thought the only real downside with the film was that the last sort of third, the wheels came off a bit as the horizon of the film sort of broadened out into a little bit more widescreen mayhem. I thought that was a little bit less interesting, but overall it's beautifully shot. It's like the nighttime footage and everything is really well shot. You've seen this film in some way 100 times, but it was, I thought it was really enjoyable to watch, sliding a little bit into sort of Tarantino-esque vibes. I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10 for Wolves.